Welcome back to another episode of the Safe and Effective Podcast. I'm Right Wing Rico, or just regular Rico, whatever's easiest for you to remember. And I wanted to go ahead and do a video. There's been people have been sending me a lot of content lately to look at, and a lot of it is about the recent government layoffs. Everyone knows I'm a Trump supporter. I believe in MAGA. I appreciate the country. So, of course, I'd want to make my country better. It's just like, if I live somewhere, I'd want my neighborhood to be nice. I'd want, my community to be nice. So America's my community right now. They're saying that he's laying off all these people, and they want me to respond to it and say, oh, this is your fault. It is. What they're estimating right now is about 200,000 federal employees laid off. What does that tell you about the value that these people were providing? The country is not collapsing. The government did not collapse. If the country and the government can survive with 200,000 less employees, what that means is that those employees were not necessary. They were not essential. Remember, you guys are liberals, right? Democrats. Remember essential workers, the only people that were supposed to be out. And remember what you did to the essential workers the next year when they didn't want to take the unconstitutional medical experimental sauce from Fauci? You guys kicked them to the curb. Let's not forget who the government started to hire as a trap to get them to take this injection, because they knew you did not want to lose that job. So they hired a bunch of people that are the type of person that the mustache man back in the day would have put in the camps. A lot of gay people, trans, black people who are gay, magically, for no reason, were offered amazing government jobs with benefits. You call it DEI. I call it a setup. See, what they did was they did a bait and switch. They baited you into accepting a job position. Now, this also happened in Hollywood. This is why in LA you see so many black people, gay people just dropping like flies, but no one's really talking about it because, it's them. You blame it on their lifestyle, whatever. But it was a trap. Biden knew what he was doing. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you thought that just magically the government that you said has been racist and oppressive your whole life magically likes you and wants to give you stuff, a good job, benefits, whatever. They created a false economy, but they also set a trap for you. They offered you these jobs, and they told you if you wanted to keep the job a year later, because they offered you the job in 2020, 2019. After lockdown, too, they offered you the job, said you can work from home. But even if you could work from home, if the company had more than 100 employees, which the federal government has hundreds of thousands of employees, to keep that job, you had to go and join a medical experiment in your arm. It was a setup from the beginning. You wanted to keep that job, and you're going to lose a job anyway, whether you're going to collapse all of a sudden, suddenly. Like, remember sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS? And everybody just said, oh, maybe you just got bad genetics. The kid was just going to die anyway. Magically, it's right after a wellness visit. Listen to RFK Jr. I've been saying the same thing for years, but now that our HHS secretary is going to tell you, maybe you'll listen. Maybe you'll pay attention for once in your life. Right after the wellness visit, your child passes away all of a sudden, or develops or becomes nonverbal. And you're like, well, what? It couldn't have been because of what we injected in them yesterday. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's genetics. Maybe it's my great-grandfather was this mix and that mix, and then a bird and a pangolin, started tongue kissing in a flea market in China. Whatever you want to say, it was all BS. But they get you into these jobs. But look at the people they hire. They hire people that have, well, for one thing, They hire people that have no children and no family and no husband. A lot of these, again, these people, a lot of them are gay. You don't have anything except this job. You'll do anything to keep this job. The job is your life. All your friends, you don't have any friends. We're in the age of social media and everyone's more disconnected than ever. The people that are in your comments are not real people that you know. You don't know these people. You've never met them. You will never meet them. For all you know, these profiles are ran by people in China or India or Sri Lanka somewhere, and they're just sitting there making comments and gassing up your head, telling you they love you, validating all your nonsense to manipulate you into doing something, and you don't know what it is. I was having to explain to my ex-girlfriend because she was trying to tell me about how women don't need men anymore. And I told her that's false, because right now, these jobs that women are acquiring are jobs that an AI or basically a monkey could do. You're a secretary. You sit on a computer. Let me tell you who's not being laid off. Plumbers, sanitation workers, people that do manual physical labor are secure. Well, these jobs where you get to sit at home, you get to call yourself a boss babe, you get to go for a mocha, then you get to go for a latte, then you get to take then you get a sun break, and then you take a nap, and then you go back. All those cushy jobs that you had at these, at these tech companies or for the government are gone because they were fake to begin with. It was a trap. They brought you into these jobs so that you would take the injection. That's all. Now that campaign is over, and guess what they're doing? They're getting rid of you. You provided no value to begin with. This was all about Agenda 2030. This was all the World Economic Forum. These are people that are like me, okay? I am a part of a think tank. If you put 20 people with my mental capacity in a room and you told us to devise a plan where we could literally treat humans as mice and get them to do whatever they want, like, I don't know, euthanize themselves, I could do it. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I'm not too upset about what they did to all you guys since 2020 is because it feels like I'm in a weird timeline where there's a version of me that's 30 years older that pretty much put all this together. That's how perfect it was. And that's how beautifully it was executed. To get the whole world, well, not the whole world, let's be honest, to get the Western world, these G7 NATO countries, to get them all to move in sync like clockwork when they speak different languages in some places and different governments allegedly, was beautiful. But to target a certain demographic of people just so that you can get them to do something to their bodies that's irreversible, it's a thing of beauty. I marvel at the accomplishments of Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari. I'll be honest, I don't care for Bill Gates, but I respect what he did, his tenacity. I don't like Fauci, but look at what he's accomplished. See, later in life, we're going to remember Joe Biden as being a hero that literally was even more MAGA than Trump. What he did in his own way was to try and make America great again. We're just not going to see the results right now. What do they say? A certain type of man is a man who plants a tree knowing that he will never enjoy the shade or sit underneath it. That means your actions of today are for future generations. You don't think the way I do. So you don't see the beauty in what they've done. You're not going to see you're not going to see the big picture for years. I see it now, and I see where this is going. What this is going is that certain people that are in our society today are the people that no one wants to live with, no one wants to cohabitate with. Remember, the people I just named, right? They have the same access to the internet we do. You get on Twitter, you get on Instagram, you get on Facebook. There's two demographics that nobody wants to live around anymore. They've had enough of it. But nobody can do anything. There's a very small pool of people that actually could do something about it, and they did. They made their move. And you might not, I've been keeping score. This was extremely effective, very successful. It was safe for them. It just wasn't safe for the people that they targeted. Those people are literally disappearing every single day from the gene pool, and no one's keeping score except for me. And that's fine. Again, these jobs were cushy. They were simple. Anybody, a monkey could do it. An AI can do it. You didn't deserve the job in the first place because it wasn't a high-skilled job. A woman telling somebody what to do, anybody can do that. It's not nothing that you figured out. There's no critical thinking involved. There's no high level, high intensity. There's nothing physical about it at all. It's just you talking to people, which, well, obviously anybody can do. Look at this, for example. You're single. That's it right there immediately. Doesn't seem like a horrible looking woman. Single. Why is she single in 2025? Was her mother single? Well, how did she become born? No, her mother had a man. Her grandmother had a man. These women before her understood that they needed a man. For one thing, life is hard enough as it is. Why would you want to go through it alone? A family structure was also a support structure so that one person could be at work, one person was at home with children, or you would have two people working. And that's, but also, again, there are certain cultures that you can't coexist with in your society. They don't understand life. They're never going to understand it. When I meet people from, for example, African-American community, in their minds, every single white person is a billionaire. There's no such thing as a poor. They're all Elon Musk. Every white person's rich. And that's in their mind. But in reality, it's just that in a white family's household, or in most households of anybody else except for theirs, there's two people that have jobs. When you have two incomes, you can literally afford pretty much anything. There's two of you. Two working people. Why would one person working alone think that they could just sustain themselves alone? It's never been done before. Ever. My generation is the first generation where there was ever a such thing as a woman getting her own apartment and living by herself. That was never a thing. Typically, a guy would get a place, he would move in his girlfriend, they would work together. Eventually, because they live together, they're having, they're getting it in a lot. Somebody gets pregnant, then he's working, taking care of her, and she's at home taking care of the child, raising them together. The whole thing with the Rockefellers were they wanted to turn schools into indoctrination institutes where they can make factory workers, and they wanted women to join the workforce so that they can tax women and get twice as much tax money. Families and women staying home and teaching kids was literally going against the program. This was all pre-planned. Certain people walk into it, certain people wanted to avoid it. A lot of these women that are working for the government, that are losing these jobs, that are facing these issues, they're all going to pivot to sex work. If they have it, if they have the genetics that it takes, they have the look, they will go to sex work. OnlyFans is literally growing every single day. They don't want to go as far as to do porn. Nobody wants to do porn no more. It's too exploitive. It's very few people getting into that industry. It's too intense. But OnlyFans, where you're just doing it at home, think about it. You've been working a government job at home. You don't want to go into the office, so you're going to accept your buyout offer. But now you're going to have nothing but time. If you have the look, how many federal employees do you think that are women? Because remember, the government recently was really hiring a lot of gays, a lot of blacks, but a lot of women. I think, in my opinion, they also were doing it because they were thinking to themselves, nobody in their right mind would become the president and upend the entire government structure and basically kick all these useless people out because they'd be too worried about being reelected. Thank goodness we got Trump, who's only going to be a one-term president again this time. He's not worried about your approval. He doesn't have to offer you anything. He's only going to be a one-term president regardless. We're going to trim the government and the waste. For women, since the beginning of time, sex work was their work, or being a housewife. You were one or the other. Don't believe me? Ask your grandmother. If you met a woman who had no husband and no children, what was she doing with herself? And guess what she was doing? Sex work, until she found her best client, who was her best customer, who was the nicest guy to her. And then a lot of these men married sex workers. That was the thing. Matter of fact, the whole state of Louisiana was basically prisoners in France. They said the French government said, we will grant you freedom and give you a basically let you out of jail and clear your record, but you have to marry a prostitute from France and you have to move to Louisiana. That's literally, right now, this is us trying to reinvent the wheel. All this is just brand new and it's not working. Traditional lifestyles are what works. Like I said, anybody who joins the LGBTQ, LMNO, whatever, when you push that agenda on children, you're pushing a depopulation agenda, because anybody from that lifestyle, the average one does not live past the age of 34. Men and men, women, it does not work. Humans live a certain type of way. That's why conservatives now are going to make up the majority of the country. The Democrats, the liberals, the people that followed, they, like I said, it was manipulation in 2020. They convinced you if you didn't go out and get the jab, you were a Trump supporter, Republican. But if you were a Democrat voter supporting Kamala, you would wear the mask, you would go get the jab, you did what you were told. It was the most wonderfully well-played trap in the history of human civilization. And I will remind people of this until they finally get it through their thick skulls what's going on. This was all a setup. All of it. Look, let's see what she has to say.
Hello. Hey, Simon, how are you? Hey, thanks for making time on short notice. I'm sure my invite was rattling and not awesome, and you do not have to turn your camera on if you don't want to. I have a couple of notes to share with you, but so I'll be glad to have those notes to make sure I cover things, but I will also follow up with an email so you don't have to retain everything I say. Made the difficult decision to restructure the XD org, and as a result, reduce the size of the org. And unfortunately, you're impacted by this change. So your last working day is today, but the good news is you'll be paid through February 2nd. Those are the most important pieces of information. Your system access as an employee will be turned off at some point today. I'm not sure when exactly. In your Workday and Benefits portal, you'll still have access to until February 2nd as an employee, and then after that, you'll have access to it as an alumni. And then I'm going to email you the specifics of your severance, benefits, and a few other details that will probably be helpful later. Ready to go through them. And then on your last day, you'll get your severance documents via DocuSign to sign, and I'll go to your personal email address. I want to pause. I know I just rattled off a whole bunch of really big news. Is there any questions or anything that you want to ask? Are there any reasons just like restructuring? Like, what's the reason for restructuring?
Uh-oh.
That's a really good question.
Sounds like It sounds like she's fishing to see if they laid her off because she was black, even though her skin is just as white as probably the person who's laying her off. But the person who's laying her off is over the phone. It might not even be somebody who's white anyway. But a fair-skinned person who's culturally black, she's fishing to see if it was racial. And not because it's just that the job she was working was worthless. It served no benefit to anyone except, again, these companies were subsidized by the government. The government was subsidizing itself to hire a bunch of unnecessary people so they could force them to take the injection. I don't understand why people are missing what the hell. They locked down the Western world. Told you had to take an injection to get on a plane. I'm 100% correct about this. You just have memory hold what happened because it's extremely scary to talk about. Why do you think the name of this page is a Safe and Effective Podcast? What am I talking about? It all ties into 2020. So
I'll probably cry more.
Again, she's really upset because now she's going to have to go back to the kitchen, or she's going to go into sex work with OnlyFans. Those are your two options. For her to get another job where they're going to just pay her to sit at a desk at home, it doesn't make sense. No companies were doing that until recently in life anyway. This was a new thing, but it was only done because they wanted you. They hired people they can have over 100 employees subsidized by the government so they can force them to comply to keep the job. It was a trap. Now that is over and that's being reversed, well, what are we doing with all these worthless people that we don't need? An AI can do this, a regular secretary, or I can just outsource it to Bangladesh and a bunch of Bengalis can do these jobs. It's customer service. It's sitting on a computer and talking on a screen in the morning. It's nothing too special or too critical. Honestly, this is the only thing that TikTok is really good for, in my opinion, is looking at liberals and Democrats and these people.
So I was laid off yesterday.
Again, likely a gay woman. She has multicolored glasses, a septum. This right here does not scream, please get me pregnant. I want to be a mother. So let me guess. Gay, single, and you thought you could live that way because a false economy propped you up into believing that you did not need to be a wife, you did not need to be a mother, and that you could just go and get a job, take care of yourself, and then you don't need a man. You can basically just become a man. Think about it. Women don't think they need protection anymore by having a husband because they can just call the police. That also creates a false sense of security, just like these jobs that were entry-level positions being glorified where you're a boss babe created a false sense of importance and stability. It was never there. It was never there. Women historically, sex work, motherhood, sex work, or in the kitchen. You're not, or you did one until you became a wife. Women in the workforce, it's a relatively new phenomenon. And it's only for the most simplest of jobs, nothing too physical, nothing too demanding, because they break down.
And I just can't stop crying. And I just keep thinking about it. 6:30 a.m. My alarm went off. I really don't wake up that early, but I actually set my alarm for 6:30 because I was trying to make myself shower before work. It didn't end up happening anyways, but I was trying to be hopeful.
Again, she works from home. She wasn't going to a good job. She's deciding if she wants to shower. Lady, if you don't get up and rinse that thing, what are you doing? This was new. Being able to just work from home, put on a tie and a button-up shirt, but you're naked from the waist down, and do meetings on Zoom was always a false economy. It wasn't real. We're going back to a merit-based economy because they injected everybody they needed to. Now back to the regular scheduled program. And remember, it only takes out certain people. So you can take it and it'll have a different effect on another person based on how they look. I will teach you guys how this works. I'll be honest, I did a video talking about the injections the other day, and it went onto YouTube and it didn't get flagged. I've lost, I don't know how many YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages by going over the data and the research about how those things worked. And now, because we have a new HHS secretary who's vaccine injured himself, I don't see YouTube being able to stop this information or being able to justify it if they do it to the wrong person and get sued. So we are going to talk about it.
Check my phone, and I had an email stating that I had an urgent meeting at 8:30. So immediately I'm kind of freaking out. I try to go back to sleep. I'm tossing and turning. I hear my phone vibrate again and I check it. It's one of my coworkers telling me that a bunch of people have been laid off and telling me supervisors that have been laid off. So immediately I just know that's what it is. I can't go back to sleep. So until 8, I'm just pretty much laying there, just anxious, thinking about what the fuck I'm going to do, right? 8 o'clock happens. I clock into work. I want to actually try to work for 30 minutes in case I'm not laid off, right? So
I want to try to work for, now this is the, remember, she's not laid off yet. It could just be a meeting about something. She doesn't know she's laid off. And what did she say she was going to do? I was thinking about just, working for that. Bro, to be a woman is amazing. You can just choose when you want to work and choose when you don't. And it's incredible because there's always some man that's going to come save you. Whether it's, but now men can save you virtually by just subscribing to your OnlyFans. And that's where a lot of these women are going. I'll be honest, she's slim. She has a smooth face. She's likely gay or into women. So she does have a bright future on OF. Yeah, that little, and when I say a little blue bird, I'm not talking about Twitter. She will have a bright future there because she has what it takes. She has the look. And think about it. She's working at home, no husband, no boyfriend, maybe an on again, off again girlfriend, but just alone, no children. Basically, this is the prototype. Her mother had her by her age. Her grandmother had her mother by her age. This woman is not likely going to reproduce. She's already mentally, for one thing, you're a Democrat. You have a liberal mindset. You believe in abortion. You don't believe in men. You don't believe in the patriarchy. You do not believe in family. You are a Democrat. You cannot align yourself as a liberal Democrat, but you actually live a conservative lifestyle. We call those a dino, a Democrat in name only. I know a couple of guys I've known for years. All they want to talk about is Trump, even when he wasn't president, saying negative stuff. But here you are with a wife and a bunch of kids, but you claim to be a Democrat. But I never seen you transition none of your daughters or your son. I see you with a woman at home. I don't see you tongue kissing some man and you and him are sitting there, with matching beards. And I don't see it. So you're really living a conservative lifestyle, but you're voting Democrat, which is asinine and ridiculous. But it depends on your lifestyle, on what you're going to do. This is a woman who lives alone, no husband. There's no male prospects. She doesn't want kids. She can't have kids. She's a Democrat. You can't be pro-family and a Democrat. If you're pro-family, now you're a conservative. So she has to literally wipe all of her views, wipe and make all new friends, and completely do a 180 and change her world. It's not going to happen. I tell some of these women that I know personally, especially after 2020, the last abortion you had will literally be your last abortion. You won't even be able to get pregnant anymore. For one thing, it requires a man to do so. That liberal lifestyle, men don't want it. Men don't marry liberal women. And if they do, guess what happens? We watch their lives become destroyed for entertainment on social media every single day. These celebrity guys who are dating these liberal Democrat women, I mean, come on, look at your girl. Look at Cardi B. She made a complete ass of herself going up there and capping for Kamala, and now look at her family life dissolved. There is nothing there. There's no future in it. But the septum is a giveaway too. But you know, that's why I like this whole situation on this is, I'm telling you, this is what is good for. Let's see here. Let's see here. There was some other videos I seen. Where people are very upset and they're expressing their frustration and they're mad at Musk for literally doing what they said they were going to do. Again, a lot of these jobs were worthless. They provided zero value. That's why the government hasn't collapsed and 200,000 of these people have been laid off thus far. So what do you want people to do? Just pay you just for being there for fun? Like, what do you, let's see here. Government layoffs, women crying. You know what's funny? Javier Milei in Argentina, he did it first. Look at the people that were working. Women with multicolored hair, haircuts, gay. And you know what he did? He said, afuera. Yesterday night, they cut 275 people from the now inexistent Ministry of Women. Many were trans who entered only by gender quota. When I say I'm right, I'm right. I could have told you this, and I'm telling you, they did the same thing in the American government because they had to use that carrot of you keeping this job that they were going to fire you from eventually anyway, so that you would go and do that thing in 2021 that you shouldn't have did. That thing, yeah, that. And look at the type of women they had working. A septum, horn rim colored glasses, a haircut, different colors, and just sitting at a desk, wasting time dancing. Yeah, just a waste. Let's see here. They're talking about women who lost their jobs during the lockdown, and the government was who came in to save a lot of people and forced them to do something that they shouldn't have done. I actually wanted to find it. There was another video of a woman crying. Here we go. This is again, if you have the looks, you'll be fine. If you have the look, nobody will care what you say or don't say. If you got a certain look, if you're a woman, you'll be all right. No matter, now she's a liberal, but she lives a conservative lifestyle. She has a husband and kids. She's a conservative life. She lives conservative, but she pretends that she votes Democrat and yada, yada, yada. But look at her, pregnant with a husband. Unlike these other ones who are, again, living alone, trying to figure out how they're going to survive because they built a whole life by themselves. You don't have a counterpart. You have no partner. You had men interested. Now you're older. There's less men that, men still come for sex. Yeah. You're definitely for recreational use. Absolutely. But as far as, hey, let me claim you. Let me move you in with me. Let me take you to meet my family. Let me build a family and have kids with you and live together. No, that's not in the cards. You've been alone for too long anyway, and you have, again, these liberal Democrat views, which just makes it hard for you to be a wife or be a woman. So remember, you're either going to be a wife, or you're going to be a sex worker. And again, I was on. Let's see here. Was it further down? There was another person I seen with a septum. It's a lot of septums. It's a lot of septum tears. And I don't even. Let's see here. A lot of gay stuff on here. Yeah, this whole TikTok stuff is a wrap. It's just it's I mean, this is a grown man right here. What are you doing with your thigh, sir? What's going on with this leg? I don't know. Uh-oh, a USAID person. Let's see what she got to say.
Oh, by the way, Navi, not Navi. So I'm going to come out here and do these live traffic reports and literally risk my life. I appreciate if somebody back in the studio could learn how to pronounce my name.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got it, Navi.
This traffic report is going to be obsolete in 3 minutes. I mean, I literally just look on Google Maps. Oh, look, traffic. I look on Google Maps and report to you what I see here. And I don't know if you guys knew this back at the station, but every person in America has access to this. Well,
You can tell by his mannerisms, his speech patterns, his frame. Women are not his target demographic. Again, there are certain people that are in the workforce only because the government wanted to find roundabout ways to get you to take this injection. If it wasn't for that, none of these companies would have hired you, would have tolerated you. You're insufferable. You think certain people of a certain tent are hard to work with? Imagine working with gays or trans and they want you to remember all these pronouns. And I had a hard enough time with adverbs. I'm definitely not doing pronouns. These people are extremely narcissistic and difficult to work with. Why would anybody hire them? Because they had to. For one, yes, it was about ESG scores being raised with your company if your company implemented DEI measures. But all that did was force your company to hire anybody who was not a straight white male or an Asian and hire everybody else and get them to take an injection that was very bad for them. I don't know if you guys understand the trap or the trap that was set and how beautifully executed it was, but it all plays into part. It literally all connects. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. These people are, wait, I want to see what she was
and oh, by the way,
I wanted to see her because she would do really good on, let's see here. People being laid off and crying really, really hard.
Courts will not save us. They will not be the backstop protecting us from the Trump Musk takeover. And any
it's not a takeover. We're leaning, the government's being former USAID. Well, you got a wedding ring on, so you got a husband, so you'll be okay.
That's the first time I've ever been fired. I don't know what to do now.
You have a ring on. You have a
I was
husband.
in charge of my department. What? They couldn't keep me?
Well, you were money laundering for special interest
We
groups.
had two functions in my department.
Yeah, money laundering and money drying. So you washed the money and then you dried it in other people's accounts. Yeah, you worked for USAID. We know what you were doing. And you know what you were doing was wrong, and you still did it for years because you felt you were protected. This all, no.
First one was handing out golden condoms to leprechauns. And we chased those little shits. I mean, we chased them.
You know what? This actually is a parody. This is actually a comedy because, for one thing, she's wearing a wedding ring. So she's a conservative. She's not a Democrat. So she's not working. She doesn't remember the government was hired. The government fired the conservatives and they locked us up on January 6th. They hate people who are on the right or anybody with my views. So this is funny. She made a joke. She gave out golden condoms to leprechauns. Okay, she got me. That was a good one. All right. Let's see here. Whereas, you know what? I just pulled up a bunch of videos on people crying about losing their jobs, but I don't know if I typed it in correctly. But yeah, TikToks is a lot of bad, weird stuff going on over here. So there's really no tons of reasons to keep going. Unemployed. Yeah, change that hair color. I'm telling you, this whole being gay and trans thing was all propped up by USAID money that was funding the media to tell you that was the new wave, the new trend. It would make you unique and special. But really, it just made people be able to identify you sooner and not want to deal with you. So it's really going to be hard now because remember, the government was the biggest employee of all these types of people. No regular company wants someone like that in their office. If a man walks into a regular office wearing high heels, it is disgusting to the rest of us. And we don't want to see it. It would irritate us and it would affect your work production. But the government was, remember, like, what's that guy that looks like Matt Damon that was stealing everything? Let me see here. Matt Damon. What was that? Yeah, right here. This guy. Sam Brenton. He is a man. He was in charge of a department working under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And it turns out he was robbing women's clothing. He was stealing women's clothing from airports and wearing it around. None of this makes any sense. It was all a trap. They wanted certain people to let them inject you. If you understand what I'm saying, leave a comment. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. Share the video. I'll be back on shortly. I'm gonna go have lunch, and then I'm actually supposed to go live with somebody, so hopefully you can catch us. We're gonna be on Instagram. But you know, again, the marketplace. If you're a woman and you work for the federal government, you don't have a husband that's gonna tell you not to do it because you're obviously, if you're working for the government and they hired you in the last couple of years, you don't have a husband, you don't have kids. Those are the people they wanted to hire. So you have nothing to lose. OnlyFans is going to be the new landing pad for a lot of these cute little government employees that are mentally ill or gay, and they think that, you know, they got the hair, they look good. They'll be able to land on OnlyFans. There's gonna and honestly, if somebody adds the word "fed" into their, I might have to subscribe. I might have to, you know, hit the link in your bio if you do. So this should be interesting. We're in some interesting times coming up. Okay, thanks. I'll be back.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com.